Greetings, my beloved clients. Coming to you from the beautiful island of Bora Bora. And apologize, I might be a little bit bloated, but I've been eating a lot of carbs on my vacations. And I'll get back to my fit, trim self when I get back. But anyways, I wanted to talk to you about 10 baggers and where to find them. And so last time we said that a good place to look would be among capital light businesses, okay? And so we're going to talk about another place where we might find them, and I want to call them millennial-friendly companies, okay? So those are companies that have understood the millennial customer and have successfully been able to enter into that market. And why that would be valuable, let's just look at the previous huge generation prior to the millennials, which was called the baby boomers, okay? So the baby boomers were the children of the people that came back from the World War II. So they started being born around 1946 to about 1965 or so, 66. That 20-year period, this huge generation, and they influenced everything from the day they were born. For example, Gerber baby food was a product created for those baby boomer children. Prior to Gerber baby food, mothers would mash up the peas or mash up the bananas and give it to them, and then Gerber said, no, we're gonna pre-mash it for you and give it in a convenient, easy to serve container. And it was a huge success, became a 10 bagger, and that's the way the baby boomers rolled their entire lives. They were called the pig and the python. Like when a python eats a pig, you could see it coming through the pig all the way through, and that was the baby boomers, the generation. They influenced Wall Street, they influenced Main Street and Fifth Avenue, and at every stage of their life. The other one when they were babies was Pampers, right? Prior to the baby boomers, babies wore cloth diapers, and then the baby boomers got those disposable diapers, and guess what happened to Pampers? 10 bagger, okay? So a company that is able to latch on to a generation like that has the opportunity for a long run of excellent growth, a 20-year run. And as a stock, it's the type of company you could buy and just hold on to for 20 years and do quite well, okay? And so all through their lives, when they started going to school, they needed lunch pails, and they needed Levi's and Gap, and stores like that became popular. And when baby boomer women came of age, what did they get? The pill, right? And then when baby boomer men got to that age where they started losing a step, what did they get in their 40s? The pill, right? And the companies that produced those things did amazing, right? When baby boomers were young urban professionals coming out of college, what did well? The BMW 3 Series for the yuppies. And all the way through when the men got to the midlife crisis, and even before when they were rebels, Harley Davidson, right? And they just embraced the baby boomer generation, and it was a great company to own for about 20 years. Now, unfortunately, the baby boomers are in their 70s, and Harley's struggling a little bit. But there was that 20-year period where it was a great investment. And they had their companies there. Another thing to look at was what was the go-to industry companies that if you were coming out of college and a bright up-and-comer, what company do you want to work for? And back then it was Ford and GM and GE and IBM and McDonnell Douglas and Raytheon, and those companies, those baby boomer companies did really well. So now baby boomers are at the tail end of their reign, and the millennials are coming up. And I would say that the The coronavirus was like this changing of the guard, this handing over of the torch from the baby boomers to the millennials. And all the things that the millennials would be made fun of, that, oh, they don't leave their room, they're always on their phone, right? They do everything online. And guess what? They ended up being perfectly suited for this coronavirus, right? Stay at home, social distancing. You tell the the millennials, hey, you got to work from home. They're like, no problem. I know how to do that, right? I'll get an app for it and I'll work from home. Hey, no more shopping. You have to shop online. You have to get your groceries online. You have to do everything online. For them, they didn't even skip a beat. The baby boomers, on the other hand, really struggled with it. And it was kind of the nail in the coffin of the reign of the baby boomer generation. And this rapid rise of millennial-friendly companies. And I don't think that was just a one-year phenomenon. I think it's the beginning of a 20-year phenomenon. So we really want to understand this millennial generation, because if we do, and we're able to identify the companies that identify with them and that they identify with, we could do really well. And so I think Apple is one of those companies that has really captured the imagination of the baby boomers and reached out to them very well, put that iPhone in their hand. And they've been a great company for a long time, and I think they'll be a great company for many years to come. Amazon as well, right? The baby boomers went to shop at malls. The millennials shop online. Okay, so these online companies, Amazon being the granddaddy of them all, great company, has been a great investment for the last decade or two, and I believe will continue to be a great investment for at least another decade. Google. Millennials like the fact that they could just ask a question and Google has the answer. And so that company is going to continue to do very well. All you need in your hand is an iPhone with access to Google and Amazon, and you can get the answer to anything you want, and you can buy anything you need, right? Facebook is another one. Although they make fun of it, guess what? Facebook owns Instagram. So Facebook isn't going anywhere. 80% of the online advertising is through Google and Facebook. They own that market, and those are millennial type of companies that I believe will do well. There's some companies that were the company of baby boomers, and a few of them have been able to make the transition. I think Nike is one of them. Nike really got the baby boomers out and about, right? Out of street shoes and into tennis shoes and dressing casually, and they've been able to hold on to the next generation. Disney is another one that was a baby boomer company. They started giving them cartoons and movies when they were babies, and they kept them their whole life. And you know, it seems like the millennials like Disney too. Netflix, right? The generation prior to the baby boomers listened to the radio. Baby boomers watch TV. Millennials watch Netflix. Okay? These are companies that could be a generational hold and give you great returns. So some companies in our portfolio that we like is a company called Purple. They sell mattresses the way millennials want to buy mattresses. Online, I saw the commercial and I said, wow, they understand the millennial customer. That company seems like it's going to do well. That's a company that could hold a long time. Lemonade is an insurance company that sells renters insurance, homeowners insurance. They just announced that they're going to be selling life insurance, and it's an app. And it takes a few minutes to sign up. If you have a claim, it takes a few minutes to submit a claim, and a few minutes after that, and you get paid on your claim. They do things the way millennials like things done online. Some of the other things that millennials like is they like to have an input, meaning they want to go to a restaurant and rate it on Yelp, right? They want to give their input, and they want to check other people's input. So Yelp is a place where they can do that. So companies that understand that I need to market through Google and Facebook and Yelp to millennials. I think those companies have an upper hand. The companies that don't understand that don't have an upper hand. A couple other things that millennials like, unique from the baby boomers, they're concerned about the environment. They are, and companies that address that issue have a good chance with the millennials. A company that I think of right off the top of my head is Tesla, right? Their vision is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, and that resonates with the millennials. I was amazed and surprised when I talked to some millennials and just asked them, what is your dream car? And their answer was a Tesla, like a $40,000 Tesla, which if you ask my generation, they'd say something like, more likely say something like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, right? Something that costs $250,000. But millennials, they're concerned about the environment, and their dream car is a Tesla, okay? And I think Tesla has a decade in front of them of growth. Not only because of that, but that's a big part of it. And because they're into sustainable energy, not just cars, solar energy, which millennials aren't that crazy about fossil fuels. They're not that crazy about internal combustion engines. So, like it or not, we need to recognize that and get on the right side of that as investors. Okay, so I read this book. It was called Marketing to Millennials, and it was very interesting. I read it to get a feel for what it takes to market to millennials, not necessarily so that I could market to millennials, but so that I could identify when a company is doing a good job of marketing to millennials, and then that might be the type of company I want to invest in. I'll say another thing about things that millennials want to do that the previous generation had a different preference. Pot, marijuana. Millennials prefer marijuana to beer. It's their beer, okay? And that's hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around, but it's a fact. And there are investment opportunities there, okay? That doesn't mean that we necessarily have to invest in those things, but there's an opportunity there. Here's another thing. The millennials are the first generation that were born around retirement planning. Retirement planning was really invented for the baby boomers because they were the first generation really that was looking at 10 to 20 years in retirement. People just didn't live that long before. And the baby boomers were the first generation that were going to spend 10 to 20 years in retirement, and they needed to do retirement planning. So the investment community became the retirement planning community. And when I graduated from college in '91, I became a financial advisor, financial planner, which was basically a retirement planner, which was a new and up and coming career to help the baby boomers prepare for retirement. Previous generations didn't have that. They had maybe a stockbroker or an insurance agent, but the talk wasn't about retirement because there just wasn't a need. But the baby boomers didn't hear that until they were about 35, 40 years old. They started hearing that you need to plan for retirement. And a lot of them did, which is good. But the millennials are the first generation that were born around that, hearing about planning for retirement. So they're natural investors, more so than any other generation. 401k wasn't something that was thrust upon them in their 30s and 40s. It was something that they heard their parents talking about, right? So when Robin Hood and them came around and said, we're going to help you invest, they were all for that. And the millennials are going to do things their own way, okay, including investing, including driving cars, but also including investing they don't want to do things necessarily the way their parents did. Okay, so the stock market, you could say, was for the boomers, and I believe the cryptocurrency markets, security token markets, are going to be for the millennials. They're going to gravitate much more towards that. They're going to gravitate much more towards a Robinhood or a Coinbase versus a Merrill Lynch or a Morgan Stanley. They could figure it out online how to do it. There are people doing videos that teach them how to invest, right? And they don't need to pay a broker. So this free investing through Robinhood or is more attractive to them. The cryptocurrencies and security tokens are more attractive to them. The fact that they have more control and it's a 24-hour market and all these things. So there's a few mega obvious trends. We don't need to identify every single one, but if we could just identify a handful of them, we can make a 10-year commitment to these mega millennial trends, and I think we could do well. That's why Tesla's a big portion of the portfolio. Bitcoin's a big portion of the portfolio. Those are decade-long holds that we're addressing this millennial opportunity. And I think we're early into this millennial opportunity, and if we really look for it, we'll find a handful of companies that are just the companies of the millennials that and they could carry a good portion of the weight of the portfolio without having to trade in and out of them. Just ride through that demographic cycle. So I believe we can find 10 baggers if we look for those companies that resonate with the millennial generation. I hope that helps. And I hope you guys have a great day. And I plan to have a great day here on the lovely island of Bora Bora. Maururu.